It's Shama here with the IC again. Just wanted to talk about mentally equalizing dissonance. So, basically, cognitive dissonance in our minds has a stem, has a root. All cognitive dissonance, no matter what we perceive as truth or not. Basically, the root of cognitive dissonance is being double-minded, or being caught in our hemispheres of the this or that mentality, having to choose this side versus that side instead of understanding that it's both sides, and that we need to unify both sides. So it's like a this versus that mentality we really have to get out of. We need to get more into a this and that mentality. And then when we can see how it's this and that, it kind of mends all the dissonance in our lives. And there's so many ways we can do that. Basically, like in science versus religion, or Democrat versus Republican, or any of those things, really. They're all just illusions created by the perception of being on one side or the other, by basically perspective. It's illusions created by dueling and adjacent perspectives. Dueling and or adjacent perspectives. And there's tons of layers of those perspectives. Basically, they all kind of spiral into a point where they come together. And where they come together, when you can see, when you know they come together first, then you could try to see how they come together. And then you could see the real truth. Then you could, if you could perceive from both sides fully, or both perceived sides fully, and perceive as that truth, as that side is true, and then also perceive how the other side is true, you can see how they both come together. It's like stepping outside and gaining more perspective. So a lot of our sickness and disease is like, even the word dis-ease is not at ease. And you can hear it in the word cognitive dissonance. It's dissonant. So we cure cognitive dissonance and disease with cognitive resonance, which is basically bringing into unity, into resonance, or harmony, all of the aspects or parts of our mind and our perception. So being double-minded can be cured by being unity-minded, you know. And being cognitive dissonant can be cured by being cognitive resonant. So if we just try to focus on, if we understand I'll get back to where I was. If we understand that and can see how both sides are true and can perceive it from each side and open our perspective back, if we can know that every time we see this versus that it's always something in between. It's always something, an illusion created by the this versus that. So it becomes easier and easier to do as you go along. Because you start to know, because every time it happens, you start to know that it's not right when you hear this versus that. For instance, science says everything is predestined. And religion says God gave you free will. So that's a this versus that mentality. But the truth is in between, in both, sort of. It's every moment we have the free will to choose from an array of destinies. So it's both. We have everything is predestined, and we have free will. And the way that that's possible is that there's an array of destinies to choose from. So in that makes sense. It kind of looks like the flower of life, or a neuron, or basically a neuron where it branches out in the front and branches in the back. trees have roots and branches in the top. There's a lot of reflections in life that reflect that kind of shape, and I feel like time is Like now is like the trunk or singularity, the singular moment that we're in right now. And the possibilities are branching out into the future, and the possible past we're branching into the now too. So basically, our diseases are all stemming from a mentality of duality. We're in a dualistic reality already. No matter what, we can't get rid of duality, and nor would we ever want to. So duality isn't bad, but we go in waves of understanding. Like, we've become very material-minded and understand a lot about the material world, but as we've become more understanding about that, we've become less understanding about the immaterial, or the spiritual aspect, or the consciousness of the epi-consciousness. And yeah, basically, if you have a dual mind or double-minded, it makes you choose, and you think that side, you always choose one side or the other. And a lot of the way we are controlled, and the people in power know about how we can be controlled through this duality mentality of having to choose this side or that, and putting yourself into one side or the other, rather than understanding how both of them hold truth and both of them hold falsity. And when we filter through all the falsities and truths on both sides, and we're discerning through them by perceiving completely from either perspective, from both perspectives, then we unify that part of our mind. And when we get this all in line, our bodies become, our minds resonate with our bodies. Like, we even have duality type mind, because we have our subconscious or body mind, and then we have our conscious mind. So our subconscious body mind is basically like our heartbeat, our breathing, our nervous system. We even have like muscle memory, things like that. Those are the subconscious things.